Well, the final track's called Break the Chain. Growing up in an alcoholic house and discovering I'm the same as my dad genetically. And this idea of, well, not the idea, but just I'm still processing my relationship with my dad. Even though he passed away, 10 odd years ago, I'm still working on that relationship with my dad.
Few artists have kept a steady, low-drama image like Keith Urban. For years, fans saw him as country music's dependable gentleman, calm, talented, and untouched by the usual chaos of fame. But people paying closer attention have noticed clear changes. His decisions, public attitude, and even the way he carries himself feel different from the Keith fans thought they knew. He hasn't fallen back into the struggles that once threatened his career, but something important has changed beneath the surface. That story started long before today's headlines. Long before sold-out tours, hit records, or marrying Nicole Kidman, music was already shaping Keith's life. At just 4 years old, his parents gave him a small ukulele, starting a journey that would define his future. A year later, seeing Johnny Cash perform sparked something unforgettable. From that moment, Keith believed music would be his life, no matter what it took. Growing up in Brisbane, country music was part of everyday life thanks to his father's love for the genre. By 7, Keith had switched to guitar and spent almost every spare moment improving his skills. As a teenager, he grabbed every chance to perform, from local bars to talent contests. At 15, he left school to chase music full-time. Even then, his drive was intense, and success felt like the only path forward. Even with that non-stop dedication, success didn't come easy. At just 9 years old, Keith competed on the Australian TV show Pot of Gold. Instead of praise, Judge Barnard King brushed off country music as dull. The only positive comment Keith held on to was intrinsically, which his mother explained meant the judge believed he had natural musical talent. That small compliment stayed with him, but so did the pain of being judged. At 16, he tried again on New Faces, performing Air Supply's All Out of Love, but came up short once more. Those setbacks left him feeling like he always had something to prove. His hard work finally opened some doors. In 1991, Keith released his first album in Australia. A year later, he packed up and moved to Nashville, knowing there were no promises waiting for him. The move eventually made him a global star, but the road ahead was far from easy.
It didn't matter what success you had in Australia, it meant nothing there.
No.
The second you get to America, they're like, anyway, start at the bottom, work your way up like everybody else. I'm like, no, I quit school at 15, so I was playing in the pubs at 15. I'm in Nashville, I'm 23. I know the foundations of country music, I know the history of it. And you get to Nashville and they just look at it and go, I don't know what this is, but this is not country. I think if I was from Oklahoma, I would have been seen as original, but because I was from Australia, I was seen as ignorant.
Life in Nashville pushed him to the limit. Keith and his band, The Ranch, often slept in an old van while traveling between shows. Some nights, only a few people watched them perform. Money was tight, rejection was constant, and every opportunity had to be earned through grit and determination. When The Ranch released its album in 1997, Keith hoped it would be the big break he had chased for years. Instead, the band eventually split up, leaving his future uncertain once again. But losing the group wasn't the biggest setback. During those tough years in Nashville, Keith was introduced to cocaine. What first seemed like a way to escape stress slowly turned into a serious personal struggle that would affect his life far more than any career disappointment.
And one night, the lead singer, he goes, man, how come when you play solo, why don't you go at the front and play like this?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I couldn't do that. And he goes, why not? I went, oh, man, people might think I'm like, that I'm full of myself, And he goes, are you? And I went, well, no. He goes, then they won't. If you're just a genuine, grounded, fun-loving dude,
right,
it'll work.
It's almost having that, you have the confidence, but not being arrogant about it, like just being humble.
By the early 2000s, Keith's career finally looked like everything he had worked for. His albums climbed the charts, critics praised his talent, and country music welcomed him as one of its rising stars. To fans, he seemed confident, relaxed, and in control. Behind the scenes, though, the challenges he'd faced in Nashville hadn't fully disappeared. His 1998 stay in rehabilitation had interrupted his addiction, but it didn't erase the loneliness, intense pressure, or emotional weight he had carried for years. Those struggles stayed hidden, waiting to surface again. Everything changed in 2005 at the G-Day USA Gala in Los Angeles, where Keith met Nicole Kidman. Their connection formed quickly. Both were successful Australians with major careers in entertainment, but their relationship soon became much more than a celebrity headline. As they grew closer, it looked like Keith had finally found the stability he had been searching for. Only a year later, in June 2006, Keith and Nicole married in Sydney. To the public, it looked like the perfect fresh start. Keith hoped this new chapter would finally leave his painful past behind. But addiction doesn't disappear just because life seems better. Beneath the happiness of newly married life, the same struggles were still there. Just 4 months after the wedding, those hidden problems came back. Keith suffered a serious relapse as his alcohol use increased and cocaine returned to his life. It became impossible to hide. After years of believing he had everything under control, facing that reality with Nicole was one of the hardest moments he had ever experienced. It forced him to accept that willpower alone wasn't enough to overcome addiction. Nicole quickly noticed the warning signs. She saw the emotional distance, the changes in his behavior, and the growing disconnect. Instead of waiting for things to get worse, she took action.
As much as you think, I thought, I can do all the work for him, I can make him better, I can take it away, I can help, I can help, I can help. And at some point, you just have to say, I love you, and I'm here when you decide to do the work. And if you don't, then that's it. Because you cannot save a human being. They have to save themselves. But you can love them and give them enormous support and love.
With help from a small group of Keith's closest friends and trusted people, she organized an intervention built on care and urgency, not blame. She gave him something he truly needed, a chance to choose recovery before everything fell apart. Keith later said that moment changed his life. He realized he could no longer pretend the problem would fix itself. Putting aside pride and denial, he checked himself into the Betty Ford Center in October 2006. He canceled public appearances, paused his career, and stepped away from the spotlight to focus on recovery. The months that followed became a major turning point. Treatment pushed Keith to face not only his addiction to drugs and alcohol, but also the deeper emotional struggles behind it. Instead of seeing recovery as a quick fix, he began to understand that lasting sobriety would require changing the way he lived his life. When Keith left the Betty Ford Center in January 2007, he wasn't just sober. He had a whole new outlook on life. He knew staying sober would take commitment every single day. This wasn't another fresh start that might fade away. It became the foundation for his marriage, career, family, and the stability he had spent years searching for. From then on, sobriety guided every major decision he made. Recovery did much more than improve Keith's health. It changed the way he lived, worked, and saw himself. After treatment, he stopped thinking of sobriety as a goal to reach and started treating it as a way of life. The lessons he learned shaped his relationships, his music, and how he handled the constant pressure that came with worldwide success. That change soon showed up in his music. Instead of sticking to the same formula, Keith brought more emotion and honesty into his songwriting. Albums like Get Closer, 2010, Fuse, 2013, Ripcord, 2016, and Graffiti You, 2018, showed an artist willing to push beyond traditional country music. He mixed pop, rock, and electronic influences while keeping the storytelling that fans loved. His music grew alongside him, reflecting someone who had learned to face vulnerability instead of hiding from it. Fans also started hearing a change in Keith's lyrics. Instead of sticking to familiar topics, many of his songs showed more honesty and heart. They reflected gratitude, resilience, and personal growth, along with the quiet confidence of someone who understood how easily life can change. Each album marked another step in rebuilding a life that had once come close to falling apart. That transformation was just as clear away from the studio. In 2011, Keith became a coach on The Voice Australia, where fans saw a different side of him. Rather than chasing TV drama, he earned respect as a patient mentor. He encouraged contestants, gave thoughtful advice, and focused on helping artists grow instead of tearing them down. That reputation led him to American Idol in 2012. Even during one of the show's most talked about seasons, alongside Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey, Keith stayed out of the drama. While headlines focused on disagreements between other judges, contestants often described him as kind, genuine, and truly invested in their success. His steady presence brought balance to the panel, and he later returned as a mentor for the show's 2023 revival, strengthening the trust he had built with audiences over the years. Television showed fans a side of Keith that music alone couldn't. He was no longer seen as just a talented guitarist or hit songwriter, but as someone whose kindness felt real. The way he supported others came from personal experience. After overcoming addiction, setbacks, and hard times, he understood how difficult it is to start over and keep moving forward. Those lessons shaped the mentor viewers admired. From the outside, Keith finally seemed to have the balance he had searched for. His marriage was strong, his career kept growing, and his reputation had never been better. But even with lasting sobriety, the pressure of a busy career, constant public attention, and high expectations never completely disappeared. Instead of slowing down, Keith stayed busier than ever. New albums, world tours, television appearances, international projects, and his Las Vegas residency kept him constantly on the move. His work gave him purpose, but it also left little time to slow down and recharge. By 2025, Keith's years of discipline were easy to see. His fit appearance, tattooed arms, and high-energy performances reflected his commitment to both physical and mental health. Age had changed the way he looked, but it also showed the experience he had gained through major successes and difficult personal challenges. Many fans believed he looked stronger than ever. What few realized was that he seemed to be going through another quieter change, one tied to the emotional weight of a lifetime in the spotlight rather than the addictions he had overcome. After nearly 2 decades of sobriety, the challenges Keith appeared to face in 2025 seemed very different. Instead of addiction, the focus shifted to emotional strain. Some people close to him, along with fans, began noticing subtle changes. His interviews felt more reserved, some of his decisions surprised observers, and the calm public image he had built over the years seemed harder to maintain. One moment that sparked public discussion came in January 2025, when multiple reports, including Patriot News, claimed Keith had parted ways with several longtime members of his touring band. Some had worked with him for more than 25 years, making the reported changes especially surprising. No detailed public explanation followed, leaving fans and industry observers wondering what had happened behind the scenes. At about the same time, another major change was widely reported. After 19 years together, reports claimed Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman had separated, bringing one of Hollywood's most admired marriages to an end. According to reports citing sources who spoke with People, Nicole hoped they could still work things out, while Keith reportedly decided to move forward. For many fans, the news was surprising after years of seeing the couple support each other through addiction, demanding careers and constant public attention. Keith's creative choices added even more questions. During some live shows, he changed lyrics in songs closely connected to Nicole. Many listeners felt the changes sounded more personal than playful. Online, some saw the performances as signs of a new chapter, while others believed they reflected someone going through a difficult period. Whatever the reason, many agreed his public image felt different. The pressure had been building for years. Media attention followed nearly every part of Keith's life, from his sobriety to his family. In 2013, Nicole was knocked to the ground by a paparazzo riding a bicycle on a crowded New York sidewalk. She wasn't seriously hurt, but the incident highlighted how exhausting constant public attention had become for their family. As time went on, Keith became much more protective of his private life. That was clear during a well-known radio interview when he ended the conversation after being asked how he felt about Nicole's intimate film scenes. Instead of arguing, he simply set a firm boundary, making it clear that some parts of his family life were no longer open for public discussion. Even with those boundaries, his career never slowed down. Albums, world tours, TV appearances, and a Las Vegas residency kept him constantly busy. Reports from friends and industry observers suggested he sometimes seemed more withdrawn, less patient, and occasionally more impulsive than the calm, thoughtful person fans had come to know. None of this pointed to a return to addiction. Instead, it reflected the pressure of spending decades in the spotlight while trying to meet enormous expectations. Keith Urban's story has never been just about success or setbacks. It's a story of resilience, growth, and constant reinvention. What do you think was the biggest turning point in Keith Urban's life? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories like this.